Commander Jiho Kim gripped the metal railing of the bridge as warning lights flashed red across every control panel. The Harmony shuddered under the gravitational pull of something massive dropping out of hyperspace directly ahead of them. Through the main viewport, space itself seemed to tear open like fabric, revealing a swirling vortex of blue and silver energy. "What in the stars is that?" whispered Communications Officer Minho Park, his fingers dancing across holographic displays. As readings flooded in from every sensor array, the tear in space expanded, and through it emerged ships that defied human understanding. These weren't the sleek vessels Earth engineers had imagined alien craft would be. The Valerian ships looked like floating cities of black metal and pulsing energy, each one easily 10 times the size of Earth's largest space stations. Crystalline, spires jutted from their hulls, crackling with purple lightning that seemed to bend light around them. Admiral Nari Park stepped forward from her command chair, her experienced eyes taking in the tactical display. 17 massive vessels now surrounded the Harmony, their weapon ports glowing with an ominous orange light. The flagship alone was so large it blocked out the nearby star system, casting the human ship in its shadow. "They're scanning us," reported sensor technician Hana Cho, her voice steady despite the impossible odds. "Energy readings are off the charts. These ships are powered by something we've never seen before." The bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency, but Jiho could see the fear in their eyes. Humanity had spent decades preparing for first contact, building protocols and diplomatic frameworks. No one had prepared for this. The alien vessels hummed with power that made Earth's fusion reactors look like birthday candles. Static crackled through the communication array, followed by a voice. That seemed to come from everywhere at once. The translation system struggled to convert the alien language, producing words that felt cold and mechanical. "Primitive species of the third planet. You have violated the restricted boundaries of Valerian space. Your vessel will be seized. Your crew will be processed. Prepare for immediate judgment." Captain Hyun Lee, humanity's most experienced diplomat, stepped forward. He had negotiated peace treaties on Mars and settled disputes in the asteroid belt, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. His hands remained steady as he activated the response channel. "This is Captain Hyun Lee of the Earth vessel Harmony. We are explorers, not invaders. We mean no harm to your empire. Surely we can discuss this peacefully." Laughter echoed through the communication system, but it wasn't the warm sound of human amusement. This was something darker, filled with contempt and superiority. The alien voice responded with casual arrogance. 17 civilizations have spoken similar words before facing our judgment. The Kentari claimed to be peaceful merchants. The Zephyrians called themselves scholars. The Moldavians begged as refugees. All now serve the Valerian Empire in chains. The main screen flickered to life, revealing the interior of the alien flagship. High Counselor Vextar stood 12 feet tall, his form a mixture of organic flesh and mechanical augmentation. His forearms ended in clawed hands that could crush steel, while glowing circuits ran along his elongated skull. Behind him stood rows of Valerian warriors, each one a perfect fusion of biology and technology. "Your species shows promise," Vextar continued, his voice carrying across space with crystal clarity. "Your genetic material will enhance our breeding programs. Your strongest specimens will join our combat forces. Your scientists will serve our research divisions. Submit now, and your deaths will be swift." The bridge fell silent, except for the soft hum of life support systems. Every human present understood they were witnessing the end of their species' freedom. Earth's modest fleet of exploration vessels couldn't match the power of a single Valerian ship, let alone 17. But Captain Hyun had spent years studying alien cultures from ancient Earth databases. He remembered reading about warrior societies that valued honor above overwhelming force. His mind raced through possibilities until he found something that might work. "High Counselor, I invoke the right of single combat as defined in traditional Valerian law. One representative from each species, fighting to determine the fate of both our peoples." The laughter stopped. Vextar's glowing eyes narrowed as he studied the human captain through the transmission. Several Valerian officers whispered among themselves in their harsh language, clearly surprised by this unexpected move. "You know our ancient customs, little human." "Interesting." "Very well. Single combat it shall be." But know this, our champion has never been defeated. He has crushed the greatest warriors of 17 worlds. Your defeat will serve as an example to any who dare challenge Valerian supremacy." As the transmission ended, the bridge crew looked at each other with a mixture of hope and terror. They had bought time, but at what cost? Somewhere on this ship, someone would have to face an alien champion bred for war. The holographic display in the Harmony's main conference room flickered to life, showing detailed scans of the Valerian champion. Korthak stood 9 feet tall, his body a terrifying fusion of alien biology and military technology. Metallic plates covered his chest and arms, while energy conduits pulsed beneath his dark skin like glowing veins. His 4 arms each ended in different weapon systems: plasma cannons, energy blades, and crushing claws that could tear through titanium. "This is what we're up against," Captain Hyun said grimly, pointing at the rotating 3D image. 300 years of combat experience, victories against the greatest warriors from 17 different worlds. He's never even been wounded in single combat. The assembled crew studied their enemy in stunned silence. Engineer Solar Choi leaned forward, her analytical mind taking in every detail of the alien's augmentations. "Look at those power cores embedded in his spine. Each one generates more energy than our entire ship's reactor, and those neural interfaces connected directly to his brain. He can process combat data faster than any human could react." Biologist Rena Jang pulled up additional data streams on her tablet, cross-referencing alien physiology with combat footage from previous duels. "I've been analyzing recordings from their past conquests. Every species they faced tried to match Valerian technology. The Kentari built powered armor. The Zephyrians used energy shields. The Moldavians created plasma weapons. All of them lost because they were playing the Valerians' game." Security Chief Juan Yoon shook his head as he reviewed tactical assessments. "Our best combat training programs don't prepare anyone for this. Earth's martial arts, military combat systems, even our most advanced soldiers. Nothing compares to 3 centuries of enhanced alien warfare. Whoever volunteers for this is walking into certain death." The room fell quiet except for the steady hum of the ship's engines. Through the viewports, they could see the massive Valerian fleet surrounding them, their weapon arrays charged and ready. Each alien vessel bristled with enough firepower to glass an entire planet. In the corner of the room, Mechanic Taemin Oh had been unusually quiet, his weathered hands turning over a simple wrench while everyone else focused on high-tech solutions. He'd spent 40 years keeping spacecraft running with nothing but basic tools and human ingenuity. Now he spoke up with the kind of practical wisdom that comes from decades of solving impossible problems. "You know what I noticed about all those alien champions in the recordings? They're perfect. Every movement calculated, every strike optimized by computer systems. Their technology does the thinking for them." He held up his simple wrench, its metal surface worn smooth by years of use. "But what happens when you throw something at them that their computers can't calculate?" Navigation Officer Yuna Kim looked up from her star charts. "What do you mean, Taemin?" "I mean humans are messy. We improvise. We make mistakes that somehow work out. We use tools in ways they were never designed for." Taemin gestured around the ship. "Look at this vessel. Half our systems are held together with creative solutions and backup plans. Any Valerian engineer would say it's impossible for the Harmony to function, yet here we are, traveling between stars." Engineer Solar's eyes lit up as she began to understand. "The energy dependency. Rena, show them what we found about Valerian power systems." Rena activated another holographic display, this one showing the intricate network of energy conduits running through Valerian technology. Their entire civilization runs on quantum energy matrices, incredibly efficient, but also incredibly complex. Every weapon, every enhancement, every system requires perfect energy balance to function. "And what happens when that balance gets disrupted?" Solar asked, already knowing the answer. "Catastrophic failure. Their technology doesn't degrade gracefully like human systems do. When Valerian tech breaks, it breaks completely." Communications Officer Minho had been monitoring alien transmissions during their discussion. "There's something else. I've been listening to their internal communications. They're genuinely confused by us. Our ship design, our technology, even our language patterns. Nothing fits their models of how intelligent species should develop. Captain Hyun stood and walked to the viewport, staring out at the alien fleet. So we're not just outgunned. We're facing an enemy that's never encountered anything like humanity before. Exactly, Taemin said, standing up with new energy. Every species they conquered tried to beat them at their own game. But what if we don't play their game at all? What if we do something so completely human that their perfect systems can't predict or counter it? The crew began to see the possibility taking shape. For centuries, humanity had survived and thrived, not because they were the strongest or smartest, but because they were adaptable. When formal solutions failed, humans found informal ones. When technology broke, humans fixed it with whatever was available. Chief Medical Officer Hana Lee had been reviewing the combat rules transmitted by the Valerians. The arena fight has specific parameters. No outside technology assistance during combat. No communication with support teams, but there's nothing that says we have to use their definition of weapons or fighting techniques. We need to choose our champion carefully, Admiral Nari said. Not our strongest fighter or most decorated soldier. We need someone who embodies what makes humans different. The discussion continued deep into the ship's night cycle, with crew members contributing ideas that would have seemed impossible just hours earlier. Somewhere in their collective brainstorming, a plan began to emerge that was so uniquely human it might actually work. The transport shuttle carried Do-Yun Shin through the docking bay of the massive Valerian flagship, past rows of alien warriors who turned to stare at Earth's chosen champion. Whispers in the harsh Valerian language echoed through the corridors as word spread about the human representative. Do-Yun sat quietly, his calloused hands folded in his lap, wearing simple work clothes instead of combat armor. At 52 years, old Do-Hyun had spent his entire life growing rice in the mountains of Korea. His weathered face showed decades of working under sun and rain, his compact frame built for endurance rather than raw strength. When Captain Hyun had asked for volunteers, nobody expected the quiet farmer to step forward. But Do-Hyun understood something the others missed. He had spent 30 years solving problems that textbooks never covered. The arena aboard the Valerian flagship was a massive spherical chamber, its walls lined with energy barriers that hummed with deadly power. Thousands of alien spectators filled the viewing galleries, their eyes glowing with anticipation. The floor was made of some kind of adaptive metal that could shift and change shape during combat. Scattered around the arena were various environmental features, energy conduits, structural supports, and maintenance panels that kept the chamber functioning. High Counselor Vextar's voice boomed through the arena's communication system. "Behold the human champion. This small creature believes it can challenge Valerian supremacy." Alien laughter rippled through the crowd as they saw Do-Hyun enter the arena. He looked impossibly tiny compared to the massive chamber around him. Then, Korthak made his entrance, and the laughter turned to roars of approval. The Valerian champion stood 9 feet tall, his forearms bristling with integrated weapons systems. Energy cores along his spine pulsed with blue light, while targeting systems in his cybernetic eyes locked onto Do-Hyun immediately. Metallic plates covered his vital areas, and force field generators created a shimmering barrier around his entire body. "Your death will be swift, little farmer," Korthak spoke through his translation device, his voice amplified by internal speakers. "I have crushed warriors who trained their entire lives for combat. You are nothing." Do-Hyun bowed politely, just as he would greet any neighbor back home. "Thank you for the match," he said simply. The alien champion's confusion was visible even through his technological enhancements. The combat began with a thunderous energy blast that scorched the metal where Do-Hyun had been standing, but the farmer was no longer there. He had moved the instant he saw the weapon charging, not with enhanced reflexes or superhuman speed, but with the timing of someone who had spent decades watching weather patterns and predicting when to plant or harvest. Korthak fired again, his plasma cannons creating explosions that shook the entire arena. Each blast was perfectly aimed by computer systems that calculated trajectory, wind resistance, and target movement. But Do-Hyun moved like water, flowing around obstacles and using the arena's own structure to block incoming fire. When energy Beams struck the walls. They created brief power fluctuations in the chamber's environmental systems. The alien spectators grew restless. Their champion was supposed to end this quickly, but the small human kept avoiding destruction through seemingly impossible positioning. Korthak activated his force shields to maximum power and charged forward, intending to crush his opponent with brute force. Do-hyun noticed something the advanced warrior had missed. The energy cores powering Korthak's systems were running hot, their cooling systems working overtime to manage the power output. Just like the old irrigation pumps back home that would overheat during the busy season, even advanced technology had limits. Instead of running away, Do-hyun began moving in patterns that forced Korthak to constantly adjust his weapons systems. The alien warrior fired continuously, his targeting computers recalculating with every movement. Energy consumption spiked as the champion tried to predict and counter the human's erratic behavior. Then, Do-hyun did something that broke every combat. Algorithm in Korthak's enhanced brain. He grabbed a piece of debris from the arena floor, just a chunk of metal that had been blasted loose, and threw it not at the warrior, but at one of the energy conduits powering the arena's systems. The conduit sparked and failed, causing a brief power fluctuation throughout the chamber. For exactly 2.3 seconds, the arena's energy grid destabilized. Korthak's force shields flickered as his power systems struggled to compensate for the environmental change. In that moment, Do-hyun moved with the precision of someone who had fixed countless broken machines. He had spotted the maintenance access panel near Korthak's position earlier, noting how it connected to the champion's charging station. While the alien warrior's systems were still recalibrating, Do-hyun reached the panel and did something beautifully simple. He disconnected the primary power coupling. Korthak's enhancements began shutting down one by one. His targeting systems failed first, then his force shields collapsed, and finally his weapon systems went offline. The mighty champion who had never been defeated found himself standing in the arena with nothing but his own natural strength, facing a human who had just turned 3 centuries of advanced technology into expensive decoration. "Impossible," Korthak whispered, as his cybernetic enhancements powered down completely. "My systems are perfect. They cannot fail." "Everything breaks eventually," Do-hyun replied, picking up another piece of debris, this time aiming it with the accuracy of someone who had thrown rocks at crop-stealing birds for decades. "The trick is knowing how to fix things when they do." The chunk of metal struck Korthak in the center of his forehead, and the great champion collapsed unconscious to the arena floor. The alien spectators sat in complete silence, unable to process what they had just witnessed. The arena fell silent as medical drones carried the unconscious Korthak away on a floating stretcher. High Counselor Vextar stood in his command chamber, his 4 arms trembling with a mixture of rage and confusion. The viewing screens around him showed the impossible scene replaying from multiple angles. Their greatest champion, defeated by a simple farmer using nothing but scrap metal and basic problem-solving. "This cannot be correct," muttered Chief Engineer Xanthor, his cybernetic eye analyzing the combat data for the 100th time. "Our systems show no malfunction. Korthak's equipment operated within normal parameters until the power disruption." Vextar's glowing eyes fixed on the human ship. Floating nearby, the Harmony looked like a relic compared to Valyrian vessels. Its hull showed wear marks from countless repairs. Its engine configuration seemed almost primitive, and its weapon systems were laughably weak. Yet somehow, this species had accomplished what 17 advanced civilizations could not. Captain Hyun's voice crackled through the communication system, calm and respectful despite their victory. "High Counselor, as agreed, the combat has determined the outcome. However, before we proceed, I would like to request permission to demonstrate something that might benefit both our peoples." The Valyrian leader's pride burned at having to honor the combat result, but ancient law was absolute. "Speak, human. What demonstration do you propose? Allow a small group of your engineers to board our vessel. Let them see how humans approach technology and problem-solving. I believe you will find it educational." Vextar's advisors immediately protested the idea. Chief Security Officer Morgeth stepped forward, his combat implants humming with energy. "High Counselor, This could be a trap. Human deception tactics might be more advanced than we calculated. But Vextar was too intrigued to refuse. For 300 years, the Valerian Empire had conquered through technological superiority. Understanding how these primitive humans had defeated them was worth the risk. Very well, a small engineering team will examine your vessel, but they will be accompanied by armed guards. 2 hours later, a Valerian shuttle docked with the Harmony. The alien engineers who stepped aboard were marvels of biological and technological integration. Senior engineer Kethlan possessed 16 cybernetic arms that could work independently, while sensor specialist Veltara had replaced her entire nervous system with quantum processors that calculated probabilities in real time. Dr. Yuna Kim, the Harmony's chief engineer, greeted them at the airlock. She looked impossibly primitive to the Valerian visitors. No visible augmentations, no direct neural interfaces, just a human woman in coveralls carrying a tablet computer that seemed ancient by their standards. "Welcome aboard," Yuna said warmly. "I'm excited to show you how we keep this old ship running." The tour began in the engine room, where the Valerians expected to find crude fusion reactors and basic propulsion systems. Instead, they discovered something that challenged their understanding of engineering. The Harmony's engines were indeed simpler than Valerian technology, but they had been modified, adapted, and improved in ways that defied conventional design. "These power conduits should not function," Kethlan observed, his multiple arms scanning the engine assembly. "The energy distribution is inefficient, the safety margins are inadequate, and the maintenance requirements are enormous." Yuna smiled and patted one of the conduits affectionately. "You're absolutely right. By Valerian standards, this engine should have failed years ago. But watch this." She opened a maintenance panel and began making adjustments with simple hand tools. "When this coupling starts to wear out, we don't replace the entire system. We reroute power through these backup channels we installed." Veltara's quantum processors struggled to analyze what they were seeing. "But that creates 17 different failure points. Any one of them could cause catastrophic system failure." "Exactly," Yuna replied cheerfully. "So we built workarounds for each failure point, and backups for the workarounds, and emergency procedures for when the backups fail." She led them to a wall covered in hand-drawn diagrams and handwritten notes. "Every crew member knows at least 3 different ways to keep us moving if the main systems go down." The Valerian engineers were horrified and fascinated. Their own ships were marvels of perfection, every component precisely calibrated, every system optimized for maximum efficiency. But they were also incredibly fragile. When Valerian technology failed, it failed completely, requiring specialized repair facilities and perfect replacement parts. In the Harmony's workshop, mechanic Tamin O was fixing a navigation sensor, using parts from a food processor and some spare wire. The Valerians watched in amazement as he created a functional replacement component using materials that had nothing to do with navigation systems. "Your repair procedures violate every principle of proper engineering," Kethlan observed. "Probably," Tamin agreed, testing his improvised sensor. "But it works, and we don't have to wait 6 months for a replacement part from Earth." The revelation hit the Valerian engineers like a physical blow. Their empire's greatest strength was also its greatest weakness. They had built a civilization that required everything to work perfectly all the time. When faced with chaos, improvisation, or unexpected problems, their perfect systems became useless. Dr. Yuna led them to the bridge, where the command crew was running routine operations. "Look around," she said. "Half our instruments are showing yellow or red warning lights. By your standards, this ship should be declared unfit for service, but we've been operating like this for 3 years." Communications Officer Minho was using a backup system to monitor alien transmissions because the primary array had developed a harmonic resonance issue. Navigation Officer Hana was plotting courses using manual calculations because the main computer had a processing lag. Engineer Solar was rerouting power around a damaged conduit using extension cables that snaked across the ceiling. "This is madness," whispered Veltara. "How do you maintain operational efficiency with so many system failures?" "We don't maintain efficiency," Captain Hyun explained, joining the conversation. We maintain functionality. When something breaks, we find another way to do the job. When that breaks, we find a third way. Humans have been solving impossible problems with inadequate resources for thousands of years. The Valerian engineers exchanged glances, their enhanced minds processing implications that terrified them. Their empire had conquered 17 civilizations by overwhelming them with technological superiority. But what happened when they encountered a species that didn't depend on technological superiority to function? Your entire civilization is built on adaptation, Kethlan realized. When your perfect systems fail, you simply continue functioning anyway. Nothing is perfect forever, Una replied. The universe is messy, unpredictable, and constantly changing. We build our technology to be messy and unpredictable too, so it can change along with everything else. Hi. Councillor Vextar stood alone in his private chambers aboard the flagship, staring at the tactical displays that showed humanity's small exploration vessel still floating peacefully among his massive fleet. For the first time in 3 centuries of conquest, he faced a decision that could reshape the entire Valerian Empire. His advisors had been arguing for hours, some demanding immediate destruction of this troublesome species, others suggesting they study humans before enslaving them. The door chimed and Chief Military Strategist Korvan entered, his battle scars visible beneath polished cybernetic implants. High Counselor, the War Council awaits your decision. Admiral Zekthar believes we should glass their homeworld immediately, before they can spread their chaos to other species. Vextar's forearms gestured toward the viewing screen, where Earth's blue marble hung in the distance like a jewel against the darkness. Tell me, old friend, in all our conquests, have we ever encountered a species that made us question our own methods? Never, Korvan replied without hesitation. Until now. The High Counselor activated a holographic display showing the 17 species under Valerian rule. Each civilization had been absorbed through overwhelming technological force, their populations becoming workers, soldiers, or research subjects in the Empire's vast machine. But now, watching the recordings of humans fixing impossible problems with simple tools, Vextar saw something different. What if we have been approaching conquest incorrectly? He mused. We have created an empire that functions perfectly under ideal conditions, but the universe is not ideal. Captain Hyun's voice interrupted through the communication system, requesting another audience. The humans' calm persistence had impressed even Vextar's most hardened advisors. When the transmission connected, the human captain spoke with the same quiet confidence he had shown throughout their encounter. High Counselor, I propose a different kind of alliance. Not conquest, not submission, but partnership. Your people have achieved incredible technological advancement. Our people have learned to make imperfect things work in impossible situations. Together, we might accomplish something neither could achieve alone. The proposal was radical beyond imagination. The Valerian Empire had never formed partnerships, only hierarchies with themselves at the top. But Vextar had lived long enough to recognize wisdom when he heard it, even from an unexpected source. What exactly do you propose? Captain Hyun, a joint research station, a place where your engineers and our problem solvers can work together. Let us show you what happens when advanced technology meets human adaptability. Within 6 months, the first human Valerian cooperative research station was operational in neutral space. Commander Jiho Kim had volunteered to oversee the human contingent, bringing along the Harmony's most creative engineers and mechanics. The station itself was a marvel of combined technologies, Valerian energy systems providing incredible power, while human-designed backup systems ensured nothing ever completely shut down. Engineer Sola Choi found herself working alongside senior Valerian scientist Thekmore on projects that would have been impossible for either species alone. Their first breakthrough came when they combined Valerian quantum processors with human-designed error correction protocols. The result was a computer system that became more reliable when faced with unexpected problems rather than less. Fascinating. Thekmore observed as their hybrid computer automatically rerouted processing power around a simulated failure. Our original design would have crashed completely. Your modifications make it anti-fragile. That's the idea, Solar replied, making notes on her tablet. Humans learned long ago that the best systems are ones that get stronger when stressed, not weaker. Word of these successes spread throughout the galaxy faster than anyone expected. The 17 conquered species, still under Valerian rule, but now hearing stories of human independence, began quietly experimenting with their own adaptive solutions. The Kentari started modifying their energy weapons to function with improvised power sources. The Zephyrians began developing research methods that could continue even when their perfect laboratory conditions were disrupted. Admiral Nari Park, now serving as humanity's liaison to the Valerian Empire, received reports of changes happening across dozens of worlds. "The other species are learning from our example," she told Captain Hyun during one of their regular communications. "They're not rebelling exactly, but they're starting to think differently about technology and problem-solving. The real test came when the Valerian Empire encountered the Devourers, a nomadic species of mechanical beings that consumed entire star systems to fuel their expansion. Traditional Valerian tactics failed completely. Their perfect energy shields were bypassed by adaptive nanobots. Their quantum weapons were absorbed and turned against them. Fleet after fleet fell to an enemy that evolved faster than Valerian computers could calculate countermeasures. High Counselor Vextar found himself calling an emergency meeting at the research station, something unthinkable just a year earlier. "The Devourers adapt to every weapon we deploy against them. Our technological superiority means nothing against an enemy that learns from each encounter." Farmer Do-Yun Shin, now serving as an advisor on adaptive strategies, listened to the briefing with the same patient attention he had once given to weather patterns. "The Devourers sound like a crop disease I dealt with back home. Every time I used the same pesticide, it evolved resistance. But when I changed my approach randomly, using different methods each season, the disease couldn't adapt fast enough. The solution they developed was uniquely human in its elegant simplicity. Instead of deploying their most advanced weapons, the combined human-Valerian fleet used deliberately inconsistent tactics. One battle might feature primitive kinetic weapons, the next would employ energy systems, followed by complete radio silence and stealth approaches. The Devourers' adaptive systems, designed to learn from consistent patterns, couldn't process the deliberate chaos. Within a year, the threat was contained using strategies that no single species could have developed alone. The Valerian Empire transformed from a rigid hierarchy of conquest into a flexible alliance of cooperation. Each member species contributed their unique strengths while learning from others' approaches to problem-solving. The galaxy had learned a fundamental truth that would reshape interstellar civilization for millennia to come. Sometimes the most advanced solution was the simplest one. Sometimes the best technology was the kind that worked even when everything else failed. And sometimes the strongest empires were built not on perfection, but on the ability to keep moving forward when perfection broke down. Humanity had proven that adaptation was more powerful than domination, that flexibility was stronger than rigid control, and that the species willing to embrace chaos and imperfection might just inherit the stars, the end.